Hello, I'm David Pendergrass. I specialize in biblical studies and healthy relationships. And my son sent me this video, Atheist TikToks for the atheist beings like me. I don't know what beans. Maybe beans is short for beings?
What?
I hope you'll watch the whole video because I do know later on there's some really interesting ones and hear my thoughts on that. So if you let me know what you think about it, write in the comments. You know what to do. It's YouTube. Here we go.
If this is what you think of when you're thinking of the mother of Jesus, you got it all wrong.
My first thought was, why does that matter? Who cares? Who cares what I think Mary looked like? And why does that have to do with atheism?
Mary was a woman of Nazareth.
You don't know that. She lived in Nazareth. You don't know where we were born. How would you know that? The gospel don't tell us where she's born. We know that we live because Joseph would have taken wherever he wanted to take her.
Much darker skin, not just because of her beautiful pigmentation, but because she spent all her days outside, not in her one-room house.
How would you possibly know that? Come on, see, this is...
She would have
in a one-room house. Yeah, they actually did have, based on archaeological discoveries, most rooms were in fact one large room. That was the kitchen, that was the sauna, everything was in, I'm kidding, all of it's in there together. The point is, yeah, most were virtually one room in that area in Galilee, which are in the Nazareth area.
had her fingertips and toes dyed red with henna, and not a
Maybe we don't have hardly any drawings of people from that exact region of the exact time period.
white dress, but one in the tribal patterns of her family.
You don't know that either because you don't know if they all have the tribal patterns. What artistic renderings do we have of the first century of women? We have some, but a lot of them are from Roman frescoes and so forth, like, for example, Pompeii. Of course, the volcano exploded in AD 79, Vesuvius did. And so we have enormously pristine, well-preserved, pristine paintings of that. But those are wealthy people who live in Pompeii, not Jewish women who lived in Nazareth or Galilee.
Mary, the mother of Jesus, was a nomad, a traveler.
Why do you think that? What conceivable evidence would you have to know that she's a nomad? The evidence is exactly the opposite. The fact that Jesus is called the Nazarene and from the town of Nazareth demonstrates that she in fact was not nomadic. I'm not sure what that had to do with atheism at all, but here's one maybe that does.
In God.
Which one?
What do you mean?
Well, Zeus, Greek god, or Ra, or Ganesh,
No, not those ones. The real one in the Bible.
Yahweh.
Yeah, it's not spelled that way. That's fine. So real quickly, if you ask a person, why do you not believe in God? If someone goes, which one? You say, okay, that's good questions, fair question. I mean the God that Christians in whom they believe in. So the God, a creator, all-powerful, sustaining God of the universe. That's fair to ask, to define that. And so that doesn't mean atheism is true. It just means that's fair to ask that. If someone said, why do you not believe in women or wives? Which wife are you talking about? That's fine. Zeus and Ra, no one believes them because those people groups are all dead. That's the main reason. Also because there's no evidence for them. But let's hear what he says.
God.
Well, you know how you don't believe in all those other gods I mentioned? That's how I don't believe in yours.
How can you not believe that someone created all this, though?
Which I would tell a person, and I have courteously say, please don't tell me what I believe. You can ask me. You don't know why I don't believe in those other gods. I'm happy to tell you why, but you don't know what I believe because you're not asked me and I'm not told you. So if you ask me why I don't believe in Ra or Zeus, I would tell you there's no evidence for them. Those gods were believed to be in the space-time continuum, on Earth somewhere, on top of a mountain. We have never found a god on any mountain. We've been to the peaks of every mountain. We have satellites in space that can prove this. That's why I don't believe in Santa Claus. That's why I don't believe in all kinds of things we know are fairy tales or make-believe, because there's no evidence of their existence. You could not possibly make the same, by analogy, the same argument for Yahweh, who is the creator and sustainer of the universe. He is not in space-time. You have no telescope. There's no scientific apparatus that would prove or disprove Yahweh's existence. Never. At best, at most, if you were logically consistent, you would say, I'm agnostic. I don't know if an all-powerful God is out there because I can't prove or disprove it. What you would never say honestly is, I know there's not a God out there because there's no telescope that wouldn't make any sense. If you went to the Holy Land today, they have tour guides who go around and point out various aspects of the topography and geography and say that's important because that part is important because it can be overwhelming if you've never done it before, but it's very helpful to have a tour guide to let you put your attention on where you're supposed to be looking in that very moment. Well, I wrote this book, Rediscover Jesus, to do something very similarly. There's so much out there about Jesus in the New Testament. I wanted to cut through all that and put something accessible in your hands that would help you focus your attention directly on the main things Jesus taught in historical context and with some real practical tips on how to apply it today in the modern world. Whether you're a skeptic or whether you're a devout follower of Jesus already, I think Rediscover Jesus will be a fantastic text for you individually or for small groups or perhaps for large groups like your entire church. I think you're going to find this very helpful. Go to Amazon.com to get it on Kindle or paperback, or there's an audiobook where I read it myself. If you want bulk orders, let me know. I'll give you a special discount. God bless you, and I hope you're going to enjoy and learn from Rediscover Jesus. Get yours today.
Do you believe that someone created it all?
Because it's so good. Can't just be chance, can it? What, the Big Bang? Everything came from nothing? That's impossible.
You're right. God did it.
What?
So where did God come from?
Yeah, mic drop, I guess. Yeah, I wouldn't have said what she did. I wouldn't say God created the universe because the world is so good. I wouldn't say that. And she can say that if this is real. And he can think they're silly. That's fine too. But when someone says, where did your God come from? Demonstrates, once again, you don't know the kind of God in which Christians believe, at least. Jews or Muslims, for that matter. Any typical classic theist. No classical theist ever believes that God, the God that created the universe, has parents. So the answer is, where did God come from? Nowhere. That's the answer. He's the origin of existence. He's not a contingent being. He's a necessary being.
Never did I think I'd ever say something like this, but they finally helped me realize how thankful we should be to the Christian God, and just please join me in thanking him. God, thank you so much for the 17-year-old freshman I met in college who was so abused by his Christian parents over being homosexual that he decided to take his own life at the age of 18. Thank you so much, God, for the thousands of children who are experiencing sexual assault at the hands of the men of the Christian church. God, it really created all of this for us, and it's so funny how Christians will try to post something as insensitive as that video and then try to pass off all the bad things in the world as free will, but free will doesn't exist if God is in control. So is God in control or not? Because y'all are really good at turning around and saying that Lil Nas X's new video is the work of the devil.
Yeah, that was interesting. I also do not like it. I think I've said this in other videos before as well. I don't like it, particularly when Christians do say things like God is in control, God's control. I don't like that for a few reasons. And I mean, I hear it in churches pretty often, certain songs. It's problematic for a few reasons. One is the Bible never says God is in control. There's no Bible verse that says God's sovereignty. Sovereignty doesn't appear. So the way the ancient Hebrews talked about it was they used different vocabulary words to talk about God's control over certain events. But statements like God controls it, God's in control of everything, those kinds of statements at my point, those aren't in the biblical text. The other reason why that's problematic is because by that expression, God is in control, what most people, and I would be one of them, I would say, so it seems to me you mean by in control mean it is determined. If you are a certain kind of traditional Calvinist perspective, yeah, you are determinist. That is, there's nothing outside of God causing it to happen. So in that sense, they do believe God is control. So all those things you just ranted off about people being molested and hurt and blah, 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 all that they would say, that's right. God has set up the universe in such a way that all those things are directly like dominoes set into effect. And then they would say, you don't like that. Well, who gives a rip? God did it, and you're not God, and you're not, and they'd also say God is in control of your protest of what He's done, because God is in control of your God's in control of everything. I don't find that persuasive, and that God is in control of everything. I do think God is deliberately not. One more time for passion. He's deliberately not in control of everything, and that includes, of course, human agents. We have the freedom of the will. Free will just means, by the normal philosophical standards definition, my will is free and that it's not coerced or controlled by an outside source or power.
That Christians have been stitching my last video because they all stitch the exact same part where I say Jesus wasn't born on Christmas, and then they all say the exact same thing. We know that Jesus wasn't born on Christmas. Way to teach us something new, atheist. It was a pagan holiday, and now we observe it as Jesus' birthday because we have taken over. We have conquered the pagan holiday. You don't get to do that. See, your book in Deuteronomy 12:31-32 says that you are not allowed to take pagan holidays and then repackage them as gods. Also, the only people that celebrated birthdays in the Bible were the bad guys. That's why there's no specific date given for Jesus' birth, because it's not supposed to be observed. So, way to prove to me that you are even more biblically illiterate. Sit down. You are out of your league.
Yeah, that's called irony. The last thing she said, that's called irony. Almost everything you said in that video was wrong. Almost everything you said is wrong. I mean, really. You said, you and Christians said Jesus wasn't born on Christmas Day. How do you know that? What evidence do you have that Jesus was not born on December 25th? You need to write a book, write an article. No one in history so far so far has any evidence upon which day Jesus was born. So how do you know he wasn't born on that day? I mean, that's a fair question. How could you possibly know he wasn't born on that day if we don't know when he's born? Why is it logically impossible, numerically impossible for Jesus to have been born on December 25th? Why? So you probably have heard Christians say that too, like you, I guess, and everyone who has said that, everyone who's thought that is wrong, because it's absolutely logically possible that he was born on the 25th. I think what you meant to say, or at least maybe what Christians, to pick on Christian for a second, what they mean to say is, we don't know upon which day Jesus was born. It could have been the 25th. It could be any other days on the calendar. And that's true. We don't know upon which day he was born. The rest of what you said is also false. It's not true that it was, and Christians are also mistaken and false when they think this too. There's so much literature on this as far as being in someone's league. There's really good research you could do upon this. The earliest known, there was no holiday. Holiday comes from the joining and conjunction of two words for a holy day. There was no holy day in the Christian church, the 25th. And the Roman holiday, Sol Invictus, the day of the sun, the day of the unconquered sun, was a festival that arose probably in the early to mid 3rd century. We know for a fact, when you look at the early church fathers, for a fact that certain early church fathers, we call them Christian authors, they were presupposing that Jesus could have been born on December 25th before Sol Invictus was even a Roman special commemorative day. You can call it a holiday, I guess, but it certainly wasn't a Christian holiday. So your video is very mistaken, but I'm sorry you're upset, or the stitching, apparently, did I said it right? I think stitching. If the stitching makes you upset, I'm sorry. Jesus was born, and the day doesn't matter. Those are some quick thoughts on these things. I hope it's worth your time. Let me know your thoughts below in the comments. If there's any videos you want me to respond to or think about with you, I'm happy to do that. Let me know, and I'll see you next time.